Networking. Prepared for and presented at the 2018 Square One Entrepreneurship Training Program. Square One is a program of the Center for Emerging Technologies. CET is an affiliate of the Cortex Innovation Community. Square One is funded in part by the Missouri Technology Corporation.
How many of you have gone to a place with intention to network and have left out just because you didn't feel the connection or the energy? So those people that raised their hands, would somebody be brave enough to tell me what that felt like?
Like you were on the outside, there was nothing happening there.
That's good. Can you all hear him? Say it loud.
It was very cliquey. Like the people that were talking to each other were already acquainted, and there was no way to, introduce yourself. So to speak.
That's good. Did you all hear him back there? He said that it felt, I'm putting it in my words, super cliquey when he got in, and he felt like he was on the outside. But isn't that reality? Until you break that ice, right? Because people have their barriers up, and they don't trust you. That's really what it is. But how do you go about jumping in there to break that ice?
Take a chip off. Speak to one person.
Good. Who else? Y'all.
Introduce yourself.
Just dive on in.
Dive in is good. Introduce yourself.
Unprepared.
Tell a joke. That's always a good way, but then you have to be careful with jokes. What if you get somebody that's like, that wasn't funny? Then what?
Well, I don't get it.
Or, say it one more time. And you like, come on, I just gave you a funny joke. So you have to be careful of how you build that rapport first off. But one of the number one ways that you can build that rapport is to have confidence in what you're bringing, right? Because I don't care what they say, how they say it. When I'm confident in what I'm bringing, it doesn't even matter how they act. There's a song we were listening to in the car, Andy Mineo. You all familiar with Andy Mineo? Yeah, I better Google Andy Mineo. He's one of those artists that gets you going. And he says this, it's none of my business the way you feel about me. It's my business if I let that affect me. And my 10-year-old was singing that, and I was like, that's serious. Because again, when you build that rapport, when you first meet somebody, if you know what you bring to the table, whether they're the right person, that's what we need to worry about. Because when we're pitching, we're introducing ourselves, if there's not a connection, we have to realize, number one, if that's the right person. Because if it's not, keep it moving. No love lost. But if you got their card, connect with them anyway. And then try to find out what it was or what it is that you can connect on. Does that make sense? Easy. We think it's easy, right? Okay. So I'm going to tell you some ways that networking has worked for me. Okay. Let me go back. Okay. So, in 2015, I was laid off from Ashley Furniture. I had recruited for their 10 stores. And in that piece, I thought that I had built up this network and I had all this stuff going on, that it was going to be easy for me to find another position. But the economy was still kind of coming over and it was still kind of slow. And so I went online, and when I went online to look for a position, I went on Indeed.com. And the only thing I put in the search, have you all been on Indeed.com? Mm-hmm. Okay, so the only thing, you said no? Okay, we're gonna get you on there. When I went on Indeed.com, the only thing that I put in the search engine was relationship building. And I was really intentional about doing that because I was not necessarily hung up on the title. But I knew that if I could be doing relationship building, that was where I thrived at. And so I put relationship building. The first job that came up was Brown Mackey College. And I had never heard of Brown Mackey College, so I started researching. But then I said, why am I overthinking it? I said I wanted to do relationship building. And this is it. So I applied. Literally about 4 days later, they called me. I get in there, interview went really good. They said, we want you to meet the campus president. So I went in on a Tuesday, I met the campus president on Friday. Monday, they called me with an offer. So everything's lining up. So I get there, start the job, but when I got there, I walk in and it was cliquey. They all knew each other. They had worked together 10 and 15 years. They had all of this stuff. So I had to figure out how I would go in there and build relationships and network with them. That's what I said I wanted to do, right? And so when I got in there, I met individuals that were in different departments. Went to each department to get an idea of what they did. But because when I started, they did not have an agenda or anything for me to meet people, I had to make my own agenda. So I made an agenda, figured out what each department did. Fast forward a little bit later, my daughter was getting ready to graduate high school. And so then I was really even more intentional about meeting each person that was over the department. So I met a lady who was over the Department of Occupational Therapy. And I said, I have a daughter who's graduating. I started telling individuals about what I was looking for. She said, well, good. I think this will be a great opportunity for her because she needs to have a good personality. She needs this, she needs that. And so when I went in, brought Kayla in to meet her, I was just able to let Kayla go because I had told so many of them about what I was looking for. But I had to be intentional about going in there to tell them what I was looking for. So Kayla gets in, goes on the tour, and people are calling her by name when she goes in. So you know when you go visit a school, they don't always know who you are, right? So she's walking through the building, they're like, hey, Kayla, this is what you're doing. Hey, Kayla, okay, Kayla. Kayla enrolls. Kayla starts the occupational therapy program. Kayla graduates. We didn't pay anything for tuition. Every teacher that she sat with, they knew exactly what she wanted to do, who she was, and it was really intentional about networking. Now the school closes. The president over the entire school, Brown Mackey is kind of one of those schools that's nationwide, and they have several brick and mortars. So the president over the schools calls and says, I'm looking for somebody that can come in and teach individuals about relationships. And so-and-so told me that you're good at building relationships. So because I had gone through and been very intentional about doing those things, things just connected. Okay, so let me keep going. All right, you all. So the big thing that I had to do was build a network, and let me tell you how I broke it down. I had to make sure that I was relevant. Say relevant. Because I'm going to wake y'all up. Say relevant again. Relevant. Okay, so when you're networking, you have to ask yourself if what you're giving is relevant. So it's something that's passionate to me that does not mean that it's passionate to everybody else, right? So then I have to figure out how I connect with them to get them to understand what I have, what's important to me, and then help them find the value in that too. So the number one thing you have to do is make sure that you're relevant. And the other thing I had to do was operate in excellence. Because every time I showed up, because they already knew each other, because they're already doing their own thing, sometimes I come in the morning and they would sit there, nobody would say good morning. But you know what I would do? Good morning. Hey, how are you? Good morning. Oh, what kind of coffee is that you got? You know, so I have to think outside of the box when it came to building relationships because people don't always give you that warm and fuzzy. But I didn't let that stop me. So the one thing that we have to do is not get bitter, not get some kind of way, but continue to operate in excellence. So that was my deal. All right. So the other piece is this, showing up in love. I had to make sure I related to these people. So I had to find out what's important to you, right? You have to find out what's important to people. When you get that and they tell you that, you got to hang on to it. So on Sonny's birthday, oh, today's your boy's birthday, isn't it? How old is he? Oh, you remember that? It's those simple things about when people tell you that you have to remember it's love, but you have to remember to even speak on it. But even just to take a little note, because we won't always remember stuff. But when you make a little note, you can remember, right? Okay. Here's another one, you all. In those places where you're going to meet people, you have to be sure that you're aware of your surroundings. So how many of you in here have already started your 30-second commercial?
Have y'all been elevator pitch?
Elevator pitch.
Yes.
Okay, 30-second commercial.
Now they're ready to begin.
Okay. So how many of here in here has an idea of the person next to you 30-second commercial? Do you know his 30-second commercial? Do you know her 30-second commercial?
We do.
Show of hands, yes. The person next to you. All right, here's a quick activity I want to do. All right. 3 volunteers. Don't cheat now, no. Three.
Question is 30 seconds.
Three. All right, three volunteers. I see all these hands, Daniel. All right, you're gonna pitch Daniel. Got it? Okay. 2 more. Don't be trying to tell her in her ear. She needs to know already. All right, 2 more.
Bam.
Bam. No cheating either. I'm watching you too.
That's not cheating though.
All right, 1 more. Good. And here's why I say this. Because when you build this relationship, right, and you have this relationship with Daniel, I want Daniel to be able to tell somebody what I can do. That's really, truly building a relationship and networking. Because you can talk to people all day long, but if you're not building a relationship behind that networking, you're wasting your time and their time. And you're doing yourself a disservice. Think of it that way when you go and network. I want to leave there and I want to be able to tell somebody, you know what, I met this lady today. She was a graphic designer. And I don't remember her name, but she was the bomb.com. This is what she did. Bam, bam, bam. Here's her card. Here's her website. Here's the things that she did. We want to be able to do those things because, again, it'll come back to us every single time. It'll come back. That same intensity and that energy that you put into somebody else, it's a given. It is going to automatically come back to you. All right. So first volunteer. Stand up and tell us about Daniel's company. Or if you got his whole 30-second commercial down, let's hear it.
Well, Daniel is the owner of Current Motorworks, and it is an automobile company that converts gas-powered vehicles to electric. Pretty awesomely.
I love that. I love it. But that's good because that says that he's listening. Did you pull his stuff up? Let me
No,
go
I
ahead and look.
didn't.
Okay. That's good though. Because what that says is you took some time and listened. And too often when we're networking, we ain't even listening. We're so busy trying to meet people and get our stuff out that we're not listening. So we're not aware of our surroundings if we're not listening. And a mentor of mine, probably 10 years ago, he was a Navy guy. And he was so matter of fact and on point and the time and everything was perfect for him. And I didn't understand that at the time. And he sat me down. I was a recruiter. He would sit me down and say, you're quick, you're good at it, and you can get it done, but you're not listening to people. He says, I listened to your last call, and that client told you that they wanted a quality engineer, and because you knew that the quality manager was talking about leaving, you didn't even talk about the quality engineer. You wanted to fill the quality manager role. I'm like, right. But when you seriously listen, you can hear specifically what people tell you. And when people pitch their stuff to you, when they have passion, it's popping out of their ears. And it spills over to you. Okay, who wants to go next? You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, tell me your name.
My name is Lamar Woods.
All right. And you are pitching Drew's company.
I'm pitching Drew's company.
Okay.
It's Nardo.
Nardo?
That's right.
How you spell it?
Nardo.
Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
I sounded it out in my head before. That's right. I'm listening.
Okay.
So, you have 100,000 gallons of pesticide and 30 acres of land to spread that over.
Okay.
As a farmer with a small team, you can either pay a person to walk around with a spray gun and get all of these separate plants sprayed, or you can do something far more efficient. You can use a drone. Nardo Technologies has created proprietary software that will teach your drone to go around and spray each and every one of your plants. All right? All right? Every one of your plants shall be bug-free and consistently have a lush green color. All right?
30 seconds.
30 seconds, yes, sir.
Thank you. Is that your new marketing person?
The next step is going to get an amen.
Wow, yeah. So you've listened to that,
I have.
or did you make that up?
No, I've heard
Well, let me
this
ask
before.
Drew. Drew, was that real stuff?
Yes, that was.
It is. I love that. That's real. That's good.
Yeah.
Because you've been listening.
Yeah.
Drew's
You
been
think I
telling
talk
it.
a lot, but I listen more, really.
Drew's been telling it. That's even better, Drew. I love it. All right. Oh, my last hand. Okay. Love it.
All right, this is about Lucy right here. Lucy's company has the potential to revolutionize diagnostics for infectious disease in hospital settings. Lucy's company, Cicada Diagnostics, has this idea of being able to make a huge difference in terms of the time in which physicians can be informed of the actual pathogens that their patients are diagnosed with. And these in turn can influence hospital decisions and help patients get better quicker.
Y'all better come on. I like that. Those are amazing. But what does it say to those people that was able to stand up and do it? They're listening. But how does that feel, business owners, that they were able to do that? I want to hear from you all. Daniel, you start. How did that feel?
That felt pretty good, especially the awesome part of it. I did give him a little tour late last week of the
Yeah.
so he got to see it all firsthand.
That is awesome. That's amazing. How did that feel, Lucy?
Oh, it feels really good. Now I need to modify my pitch.
Right. All right, Drew, how'd that feel?
Good. I have trouble sort of impromptu pitching my own company,
Yeah.
so to hear somebody else talk about it like that, I was like, wow,
And this is being recorded.
very good.
Use it. Good, you all. And so again, understanding your surroundings, understanding where you are. And seriously, when I think about surroundings, I think of the grocery store too. You can meet all sorts of people in unexpected places like the grocery store. Naturally, we think of networking at these networking events. Networking can happen anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. We were going to get some Lime scooters in Forest Park the other day. We were up by Art Hill, and there was a family they kind of beat us to it. And so Alyssa said, "Hi, I'm Alyssa," and we were just getting ready to get those. And the little girl said, "Well, we're already here." And I was like, "You're right, you are already. About how long do you think?" So the mom and I started talking, but I watched these kids, and Alyssa's like, "Yeah, my mom's a speaker, and she does this, and I was like, but to be able to hear these kids at that age with their childlike faith, they did not care. And they met each other right there at the Lime bike station, and they didn't care. But when she came back with the scooter, she was like, "Alyssa, right?" Alyssa's like, "Yeah." But any place you are, it does not matter. But one thing we have to be willing to do is pay attention to our surroundings and be willing to step outside the box. Because not always will we, at that unexpected time, meet that person, right? Because sometimes I think if it's on Saturday, maybe I don't need to pitch my stuff. Yeah, right. Money's not going to wait. Why wouldn't I pitch it on Saturday? So be thinking that way. Why wouldn't I pitch it in the grocery store? Jogging pants and a t-shirt and a baseball cap. Why not? But we think that we need to be fully suited and booted to be able to do it. But we don't. Because when you have that confidence and that passion in what you bring to the table, nothing else matters. Oh! Why y'all didn't tell me it went below?
Sometimes the cord gets a little bit unplugged.
Oh, there we go, look. There we go. And so in the midst of everything that you all are thinking and you're working through, when it comes to building your elevator pitch, when it comes to knowing, when it comes to networking, trust the process. We want things to be easy. We want things to be sweet. We want it to be quick, but it's not always that way. But what I want you to think about is when you veer off that course, just get back on it. Maybe you didn't tell somebody about it this week. Start again next week. But here's the trick that I want you to do. Keep a cheat sheet with you about how many times you're pitching pitching your pitch to people? How many times you're talking about your business? How many times you're telling people about that on a weekly basis? So do it for 1 week. And in that 1 week, I want you to look at your passion meter. Because if you're able to talk to if you're out, so say if you're out and about every single day and you're getting to be in contact with other people, fabulous. So at the end of the week, let's just do the first 5 days. If you do it at least 2 times, where do you think your passion meter's at? Yes, you are high or low?
Low.
So if you do it 2 times a day, you think it's low? What do you think is high?
Well,
That's good. 5 to 10 times a day, especially if you're meeting that many people. Because think about it. When you tell people about what you do and why you're doing it and that passion flows, it's going to get in the habit. You're going to get in the habit of doing it, but then you'll attract the resources. You'll begin to believe so much into it that it had no other choice but grow. And I always think about the law of attraction. When it comes to everything that we speak, I don't say the word says it. Life and death is in the power of your tongue. So if you're saying out of your mouth, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if this is good. I don't know if I could tell her. I don't know if she'll listen. She's going to listen if you say she'll listen. Because 9 times out of 10, when you go meet somebody or when you go up to them or you see something, there's a connection, even in the grocery store line, and you meet somebody. Be willing to pitch. Be willing to introduce yourself. And you don't just have to instantly jump off, this is what I do. No. How would you do it, Daniel, if you met somebody for the first time? Come up here, Daniel. I'm picking on you today. Yes.
how you doing?
Hey, good handshake too.
So, what do you do?
What do you do? Don't try to ask me what I do.
I build electric cars.
You do?
Yes.
Ooh, tell me more.
I convert the luxury branded vehicles from gasoline to electric.
I like that. Tell me
Okay.
more. I'm messing with you. That's
It's
good.
okay.
But I know you did, but I took it back. But you want to think about that. So every chance that you get to talk to somebody, but I don't want you to say, so what do you do? I want you to tell them who you are. Because naturally, we want to tell people what we do. But I want you to tell them who you are. Hey, Kesha, how are you?
I'm doing well, I'm Daniel.
Hey, Daniel, what are you doing in here?
I'm bringing all kinds of good stuff.
Shoot the breeze. Shoot the breeze first. Shoot the breeze. What are you doing in here? Did you come here to get some groceries?
Oh, we're at the grocery store.
We're at the grocery store. We're at the grocery store.
Okay. Of course. What about yourself?
I am. I get that same lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about it? It was on sale last week.
Well, I'm paying full price, so.
I know, and it's double.
I get it because it tastes good.
It does taste good, so I will pay half price too. I want full price though. I want half price. But yes, you all, and what I'm thinking and what I'm doing is, don't always be so formal. Think about that in every setting that you're in. You don't have to be formal, but you first have to knock those walls down. We talked about those walls, right? You don't necessarily need to be formal first off. First off, you need to build that relationship, and they need to let you in. Because they're closed off first off, right? So you have to figure out how you knock that wall down and find out what they're interested in. And whatever in that shopping cart, they're interested in that. So think about that. Whatever they're eating, they're interested in that. So talk about that. But that way you can keep it simple and you're not having to overthink it. Because oftentimes we overthink it when it's so simple. So I went to a networking event that they had over at Anders CPA. They have this women big empowerment group that they do, and they have kind of dinners and they have networking events. And so I got to the event and there was a lady that had on some shoes that I liked. That is a perfect conversation starter. A tie. A blazer. Think of it that way, you all, because that takes the guesswork out of it. But when you build a relationship, you have to first find out what is going to get them talking, right? and then jump in. And so what do you do? And again, those layers have already fallen off, and they've begun to trust you. Okay? So trust the process. And the last thing is I want you to think about is this. Are you elevating or are you weighing down? And so again, when you meet that person, you can elevate them by listening. And we don't always think about that and listen because we want to get our pitch out. But I want you to think about how you can take them to the next level, how you can tell somebody else, and then also be willing to connect the dots. Because you may know somebody I don't know. But when I tell you what I do or what I'm passionate about, you can say, I know somebody that does that too. I would love to connect you to. You don't have to wait for them to say, will you connect me? Because sometimes it's awkward to say, will you connect me with so-and-so? So you can be that person that says, I'll connect you. Okay? Is that easy?
Yes.
Is that easy?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to hear some more 30-second commercials. Yours, though, this time, which is sometimes a little more daunting, huh? Would you go first? Tell me your name again.
My name is Bellman Cusick.
Bellman Husick. Let me hear yours. 30 seconds and action. You got this. You do. You got this. Tell me.
On the spot.
Tell me. It is on the spot. Tell me. Okay. What's your why?
My why? I'm a lawyer, but I study the law of attraction. So I like helping people.
Okay.
And I want to help people become more confident. I want them to become more happy, and in the process, they're going to become more healthy.
I like that. Do you see when you think about the passion you all, it makes it easier. We naturally want to tell about what it is that we do, but tell your why. Why are you doing this? Because if you can tell someone why you do it, they will listen to what you do. But at 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to listen to what you do if I have no idea why you're even doing it. That was good. Because you know why he's doing it, right? So somebody else, tell me why you do what you do. What's your passion? Tell me about your passion.
I'll tell you what I'm passionate about.
Okay? And then tell me why. Come on.
Tell you what I'm passionate about and then why. Okay.
What's your why?
I'm passionate about bringing the fight to the opioid epidemic. Why is because this is an unsolved problem. There are huge amounts of money being poured into tech for many different problems out there, ranging from obesity to psychological disorders. But I don't feel that any true value has come out of the addiction recovery space. So Hard wages war on the opioid epidemic by bringing supporters and a support management platform to users in need. Most users want to be clean at some point in their life, but the problem is that feeling is waning. So Hard comes in to scoop them up during that time when they actually want to recover and carries them to that finish line.
I love it. Come on, yeah. Good. Again, when you can tell your why, people will listen. And you'll keep their attention. Anybody else want to volunteer? Any, many, miny, mo. I see all these hands in your head. Don't try to look away. Everybody's trying to look at the ground. Anybody?
Did I get to come back? Did I recover from last time?
That's good though. So I want you all to make sure that you are telling your why and then end it with the question. Because if we stop this epidemic today, how will our next generation be able to thrive?
If you take care of it today, they will be able to thrive.
I'm telling you to end with the question.
Oh, end the question.
End it, always finish it with the question.
I see.
Because what you do then is you're casting and you're hooking them. Pull them back in. Ask them the question. And when you ask them the question, how can you assist me in this? Who do you know that needs an amazing MC and speaker and host? Who do you know that has an event coming up that works with you? End it, always finish it with the question, because then you'll get them thinking even more. So who do you know that needs my assistance?
I need your assistance.
That's your question for you. Who do you know that needs my assistance? Okay? All right. The other piece I want you to think about when it comes to networking is follow-up. Who knows the time frame that we need to follow up with? Guess. Come on. I want to hear some numbers.
24 hours,
Okay?
3 to 5 days.
Okay? 48 hours. Within 48 hours, if you have not reached out to them, you can pretty much call it a wash because they may not remember you. So if you meet somebody for the first time in 48 hours, I want you to make sure that you're following up with them. I want you to make sure that you tell them where you met them at. I want you to bring up something that you talked about. So you're going to have to be really intentional. That's why I say within 48 hours, because I forget. So after those 48 hours, I'm like, shoot, what was that conversation about? So within those 48 hours, you can kind of still remember, right? But here's another trick that I do sometimes, is I take a notebook with me or take a planner or something where I can take notes. If I get business cards, I can put them in there and just take a note. She did X, Y, Z, she did this, she's fantastic, she did this. So that when I send my follow-up, they know I was listening. But that's the first step in truly going forward with that relationship. Too often people go to networking events or they're meeting somebody for the first time and that's it. But think about how much can be built if you go that next step, following up, if you take the next step. Because people will say every single time, I'll send you an email. But how often do they really send it? I'm waiting on some emails still. But seriously, you can take the initiative to follow up and make sure that you do it on purpose. And here's a number one way that you can do that, through LinkedIn. How many of you are already on LinkedIn? Active, posting, sharing. Get on LinkedIn, you all, it's free. It is a free resource. It is a free resource. Say it again.
Unless you want to pay more money to do it.
I don't pay a dime for LinkedIn. Look me up on LinkedIn. It's just Kesha Kent. And I post and I share everything that I do on purpose. I'm going to get my phone right now and take your picture. This is how we connected, Christy and I, on LinkedIn.
So I saw that Kesha was presenting at a conference where I was presenting, and I knew I needed a person to speak on networking. So I did as much online searching as I could, and I saw who she was connected with and what she was being asked to speak on. And then I stalked her. I friended her on Facebook, I linked into her on LinkedIn, and then I sent her messages, and she responded. And she booked this with us before we had ever met in person.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. But that's the power of networking.
Is that K-E-I?
No I. Kesha. So LinkedIn, use LinkedIn, and here's some stuff I don't want you to do, okay? Do. Follow up immediately. We said how soon?
48 hours.
Ask to meet further. So if you met them when you were out at an event and you didn't get a chance to really connect, ask for a sit down. What do I mean when I say a sit down?
30 minutes.
Coffee, 30 minutes. And be intentional when you ask for that. Because a lot of times we have a lot of things going on, but we can make 30 minutes here and there for something that we want to do, right? But if you send me a message and say, I would love to sit down over coffee, over tea, and just kind of really pick your brain and kind of tell you a little bit more about what I'm doing. I would love to be connected to you. People will eat that up. They will eat that up. So I want you to use LinkedIn for it. The other thing is this, once you build that relationship and you start connecting and you go further with them, ask for them to introduce you to somebody else that may do what you do already, that may already be connected, that just may be somebody that you'd like to sit down with. Ask, because if you don't ask, they won't know that you're interested in doing it. You never know who you're already connected to, so when you see on LinkedIn that they're connected to other people, ask them to introduce you. I wanted to do a consulting role in recruiting, and I worked for a lady that has her own business years ago, and I trained her staff to recruit. I looked on there because I saw a position that was open of another place I wanted to consult for, and I said, Teresa, I see that you're connected with this lady. Will you introduce me? She said, of course. And so again, that's all the stuff that I talk about, showing up, knowing your surroundings, operating in love, showing up in excellence. Because when you show up the right way, people don't mind introducing you. But when you're half-hearted, meet them for coffee and you're late, get there, you have nothing to write with, these are all things that set the tone. But you can operate in excellence by being prepared. Okay, you all? Does that make sense? Yeah. Say yes.
Yes.
Okay. And truly, don't just meet people for that first time. You all seriously work on building a relationship. And building a relationship is much more deeper than just networking. But it's something that has to happen when you network. You can't meet people and think that you're not going to build a relationship, right? So be thinking, how can I build a relationship? All right, here's some don'ts. Can you all see that? Do not send a generic LinkedIn message, because LinkedIn will populate it and make it for you. But you know how many times we've seen that? We know if it's generic. So take time and truly type up. It'll pop up for you. LinkedIn is the bomb. It will do everything for you if you let it. It really is. And so if you have not been using it, it's a free tool. It's a social media, but it's a professional platform. Different from Facebook and Instagram and all that, but it's professional. But again, I want you to make sure that you take time and put some specifics in that message. Is it Halston? I like that. We met the other day at the networking event at XYZ. I really love that tie you had on. I would love to sit down and touch base with you a little bit further. Thank you so much for telling me about the opportunity that Wells Fargo has. Whatever the conversation was, make it specific. And so when you send that introduction, that first connection to LinkedIn, it does not have to be 2 paragraphs. We think that though, why? Doesn't have to be a cover letter of our resume. We think that though, but why? Dispel all of that stuff. Send a 1 line, say specifically what you're gonna say, sign it, and say, I would love to touch base. Give them 2 times that you wanna meet with them. Pick some times in your calendar that will work. This way you don't have to have 63 messages coming back and forth, right? If you just say what you're gonna say, I would love to meet with you for coffee. I'm available Wednesday at 2 or Friday at 1, which is better for you. Hit them with that. They'll know you're ready, right? Okay. When you're out at events, here's some things that I don't want you to do when you're out. Put that phone up. That's tough though, right? Is that tough when you're out at networking events to not be like this? Is that hard, you all? It's not. Keep the phone up and don't get too personal when you first meet people, when you first meet them, when you send that message. Don't be too personal, be professional, okay? And then don't get too politicky. You never know which way a person is and you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot, okay? All right. Here's how you build your network, you all, and continue to do it. When people ask you to do things, say yes and figure it out. I didn't know the details of this, but I said yes and I figured it out. I had to do some research. So say yes and figure it out. Oftentimes we think we need all of the details. We don't. But say yes and then figure it out. Things that you want to do, industries that you want to work in, a quick way to get an insight is to volunteer. Find out what they're already operating in. Maybe they have an event coming up. Ask them how you can serve. Serving and volunteering is one of the greatest ways to get in and build relationships with individuals. If you find out that they work at a certain company, ask about events that are coming up. How can I get in there? Volunteer. Get involved. In the industries that you're wanting to be in, on LinkedIn, there's all sorts of groups that you can join. Free. And they're always in there yapping. Free. Jump in and yap too. Okay? It's absolutely free. And we talked about social media and LinkedIn and all of those pieces, but if you're specific to a specific industry, you can follow them on LinkedIn, but you can follow them on Instagram and Facebook and all those other places too. That way you're in the know. A lot of times they'll post events directly onto LinkedIn as well as Facebook, and then you can have an idea of events that are going on. Okay? So do it. And then ask for help. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Ask for the introduction. Ask for what you want. Volunteer. Get involved. Get on social media. Move around. Be active. On LinkedIn, you should be active. I know you. And ask for help. All right, you all. Here's my question. Have you shared your vision with those around you? Show of hands, yes. And those around you include whom? Tell me. Good. Good.
People at bus stops.
You better.
Is it?
You better. You never know who you're going to meet. Share your vision. Yes.
I'm an Uber Lyft driver, so I'm always talking.
Talk to those people.
And I get a lot of people going out of town and they take my vision.
Talk to them.
I sit in.
Every person that you're in contact with, think about the people that you're connected to. And I always say this, people have said over and over again that sometimes family may not be our people that we sell to and our clients. They still know people. So don't not tell them, because we kind of think that way. I was at another event and I heard a speaker say that, and I was like, I have to challenge that. Because just because they can't buy from me doesn't mean that they don't know somebody that may know somebody. So they still should be able to tell me what it is that I do. Okay?
I actually agree, because recently I went to meet with my family and I met my brother, and he's not a scientist, but I explained to him, what I'm doing, and he has so much interest. I thought about what technology I could improve, and then he talked to me the whole time.
See?
Yeah, it was great.
That's good, and that's exactly how it can happen. And the other thing is sometimes they don't understand it, but you know what jumps in? Our passion. Our why. They don't need to know all the details and all the ins and outs, but if they know why, they feel your passion, that's all they need. And then enough to say, you know what, I have her card, I'll give it to you. You can call her yourself. Because you never know who they can connect you with, but you never know what they can offer you too. I lost my thought. You never know who they know, but you never know what they know. By sharing what your passion is, they can sometimes connect you or even help you tweak your pitch. What kind of questions do you all have for me? On networking, anything? Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for a really entertaining
Yeah.
talk. Really cool, and I love a lot of what you had to say. One thing that I have found effective in networking myself is actually to understand who you're talking to. And when this gentleman here started off saying, what brings you here, you kind of said, no, tell me about yourself first. Is that always the right thing to do?
You know why it is? And I'll say this because what if you tell them about specifically what you do when they have not built that rapport with you? And so I say that so that you can build a rapport first.
Yeah.
And go in softly, right? Take that soft approach and then build that rapport, let them get to know you and feel it, let those walls fall down. Because again, people are closed off.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying now. You weren't saying launch into your pitch. You were saying tell a little bit about yourself as a human being first.
Yes, That's exactly what I'm saying, because again, you'll watch those layers fall off and they're willing to listen because
Thank you.
now they
That's really
understand.
clear.
Yeah.
I appreciate that clarity, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. That's a good question. Yes.
How do you build the relationship with someone after that first meeting? Because I have no problem going to meetings and we send a thank you after the meeting, but after that, how do you stay engaged and build past that?
That's a good question. Did you guys hear her back there?
Not really.
She said, how do you build that connection after that first interaction? How do you keep it going? And so here's one way that I do. I figure out what it is that they're doing. Find out where they're at. Get involved with those things that they're doing. Be really intentional on the follow through. Having sit downs, not just that one sit down, but several. And see what things that they're involved in that you can get involved in, but find out specifically what they're doing. What are they passionate about? And see how you can connect with them on that way. Yes. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I have one thing to add that's kind of that way.
Yeah.
For me, it feels easy to stay engaged with somebody when you first start a relationship. Sometimes if you're like reading about, not necessarily political stuff, but just stuff in the news or like articles someone's written
Yeah.
about, a certain way to something or some professional aspect. If for some reason it clicks for me with someone I've already met and I think that they might think it's interesting or maybe some after the job searching, their job searching or something, I try and send people stuff and just be like, I don't know if this helps, but
I like that.
I did you while I was reading this, so I don't know if you want to connect with this person or
That's very
comment
intentional.
or something, but like that feels easy because I'm already trying to form myself.
Right?
With this other person.
That's very intentional. And that person will appreciate the fact that you even remembered something that they were interested in. So that's perfect. That's exactly how you can follow up. Any other questions, you all?
I think sometimes we hesitate to tell people at the bus stop because it depends on how we introduce ourselves, right? If we say we're starting out this company, they just think you're a millionaire, but we don't. So sometimes have a wall built up there, like
Yeah.
how much, we can be open to the strangers.
You're right, and they are strangers. But that's where that building a relationship comes in at, to take away that stranger piece. And maybe not go into full detail, but give them a little bit of your passion and your why.
Right.
And then when you connect further, sitting down, coffee just you and him or you and her, go further. And as you build and you keep going, you go further and you give them more. You don't give them the keys right away, right, to the house. Maybe crack the window a little bit. Let them in a little bit, even more and more each time. Just let them in a little bit more, and it really will. You'll feel that when you're meeting somebody. If this is the time for me to go all in, you feel it. You know right away when you meet people if that you need to tell them all of it. As you're building that relationship and they start to know you and know what you do, you'll start to see that bond get formed too, and it naturally will happen. But it's very intentional. All of those key pieces are needed for you to keep it going. So if you meet them and you reach out to them 6 months later, they may not even respond back because how serious were you in connecting? So think about all those pieces when you go into building the network and relationship building.
Yeah, I just remember when I was in hair salon and this beautician asked me what I was doing. I hesitated to say that I was starting up the company in case this person would charge me more. So I say I started.
That's good. That's good. That's good. She better set those prices in the beginning.
Exactly.
You tell her. That's good though. That's good. You all, thank you. One more.
All right, so I'm in a sort of like particular situation because I have an easy time building rapport with, people that I just meet and, showing my passion to them. But like with my own parents, people that I've had relationships built my entire lives, they don't support me more than anybody else. And it's kind of like a barrier that I'm having a really hard time getting over. Like I can't, push them out of my life. How am I able to handle having a relationship with these people that I need to, but also being able to actually be confident in myself and going out and getting the things done that I need to?
You said the key thing, confidence. And remember we talked about the passion and giving it to them? That may not be our client, and that's all good. I wouldn't even keep talking to them about it. Show them. And a lot of times those are the toughest people to be able to talk to, is people that they think they know us, or they saw us do something else, or see me in another career, and here I am doing my own thing now. And they're the ones that become critics. And it's okay, because I don't need to keep pitching it to them. Tell them, but stay passionate. And don't allow it to take you off of your passion, because your passion's there. And they may not get it, and it's okay. But be okay with it. But keep your passion. Tell them, keep it moving. That's a good one. That is, because people close are our biggest critics.